everybody. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Little Compton School Committee for Wednesday, January 12th. If everyone could please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. We're now going to, I would consider a vote to enter into executive session under RIGL section 4246 5A2 by way of roll call, please. I have a motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call, Mariah, please.
Holly Allen.
Aye.
Travis Audie.
Aye.
Hannah Aya.
Aye.
Rita Kenahan is absent. Mike Rocha.
Aye.
Great, thank you. We'll head over to executive session and we will be back in open session around 7. Thank you. Right, thank you. Welcome back. We're convening in open session. It's 7:01. I'd like to notify everyone that there were no votes taken in executive session, and I would consider a motion to seal the minutes of executive session, please.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Travis and Hannah. And could we vote by way of roll call, please, Mariah?
Holly Allen.
Aye.
Travis Audie.
Aye.
Hannah Aya.
Aye.
Rita Kenahan is absent. Mike Rocha.
Aye.
Right, thank you. Before we move on to the consent agenda, I'm going to go a little off script. I apologize. And this isn't open for discussion because it's not on the agenda. I just want to clarify, we have an annual calendar and there were some dates held as placeholders for our budget, and it has caused some confusion, and we apologize. We are going to put it in our notes that moving forward, that it has been a past practice that we put it in there. There is no need for it to be in there. We only need to do our monthly meetings on there. And so if a meeting is not posted within 48 hours before the meeting, we're not having the meeting. So those meetings are listed on the annual calendar and are not necessarily the days that we're holding those meetings. So we will be having some budget meetings and posting those dates as soon as we know that we're ready. If you have more questions, send Superintendent Dias Mitchell an email, please. Thank you. Consent agenda. Does anyone have anything they would like to pull out of the consent agenda?
All right, 4.3, please.
4.3?
Yes, please.
So you said, oh, my numbers are cut off. Correspondence home instruction request, is that the one?
Yes, please.
Okay. Do you just want to pull it out of the vote, or do you have some questions?
I just have some questions on it, and then if we can vote on it all together, I would assume. Just
okay.
Am I good to go on this, Holly?
Yep, go ahead.
So with the home instruction request for this correspondence, that's for all the kids that want to. I guess, Laura, you would have to answer this, but that's for all the parents that want to do homeschooling. That's what this is for, I take it, right?
Yes. The state process is parents reach out to the district and they request an opportunity to homeschool their children. It's very rarely denied. I'm not even sure that we have the agency on the district level to do that. And their requests are generally anonymized when they are part of the consent agenda, because the requests name minor children and come with some specificity as well regarding, the child listed, or sometimes it's several children in a family. And so this has been the process forever. I know you did reach out. You wanted the actual letters to be shared publicly, but that is not a practice that we would engage in. This is private, confidential information.
So this is, okay, I guess there's two parts to that. So I guess the first part that I'm asking is that this would be the process, they're requesting it for any homeschooling.
Mm-hmm.
Is through this correspondence that's on this consent agenda.
Yep, they list, what instructional programs that they would be engaging their kids with as they deliver the home instruction to them. And they generally list the state law that asks for compliance in terms of attendance, records, et cetera, with the district. We reach out and say that we offer our homeschool families 2 courses that they can, the kids can participate in. It's not all or nothing. The children can come in for 2 academic courses or 2 co-curricular courses, or 1 of each. And they can also participate in extracurricular activities if appropriate.
All right, because I got asked this question and I wasn't sure what the answer was on this, as far as like what programs they can use with the homeschooling versus if there were certain programs that they have to stick with or they don't have to stick with.
It's family choice, and there are numerous programs out there that our families access. Sometimes they ask us for advice, and administrators have been communicating and meeting and sharing information with families who choose home instruction for decades. They also have at their disposal our counselor social worker, Mary Elizabeth Miller, is engaged with every homeschool request. And she will manage registration for the kids want to enroll in Spanish or in band, etc. So I think our district has a wonderful relationship with our families who choose home instruction. And many of them do choose to come in for a course or 2, the children. So, but their requests are, contain private information about their children.
So, okay, and that's fine. I understand that. Can I just ask, so what are we voting on through the consent agenda when I see something like this on here, when it says correspondence stuff for the home instruction request? What are we actually saying when we approve this part of that?
Okay, go ahead, Lori.
It's just part of the process, Mike. It's a formality, and it just sort of provides a town and school district imprimatur on the request. It kind of seals the deal. It guarantees that the family has met all of the requirements and that we have met our obligations as well. It's sort of a social contract between the district and the family.
Okay, I'm good, Polly. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone have anything else they want to discuss in the consent agenda? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda, please.
So moved. Second.
Mike and Travis. And a roll call vote, please, Mariah.
Holly Allen,
Aye.
Travis Sadi,
Aye.
Hannah Ayotte.
Aye.
Rita Kenahan is absent. Mike Rocha.
Aye.
All right, we're gonna move on to Spotlight. I feel like on my printed agenda, I am missing the first part of the Spotlight. I apologize. I have, the next thing I have is final presentation of stage 2. Is there another part to the Spotlight? No, okay. I seem to have no margins on my printer today. I don't know. All right, so we have Phil Conte here to present? Oh, Mariah?
You want to move him up?
Sorry, there is 5.1, which is Spotlight on Technology.
Oh.
I'm happy to let Phil jump in first if he wants to do his thing and get going, though. I'm here for the whole meeting no matter what, so that's up to you.
And I reserve the right to introduce this.
Sure, go for it.
Just very quickly. Jonathan Gabriel is absolutely brilliant. I am absolutely biased, so just up front. And he and I did collaborate in our past lives before we both came to Little Compton, and then I didn't see him for several years. And I was thrilled when he applied for the position of technology director. During the interview process, we had an excellent selection of final candidates. During the interview process, we asked, okay, what would you do to replace our outmoded communication system called Blackboard Connect? And he came up with great ideas, including Parent Square. We asked about a single sign-on that was lacking. We didn't have a single sign-on in the school department. And so we had to sign into several dashboards every day, our teachers, our kids. It was just crazy. And boy, did he deliver. And that's part of his spotlight tonight. So when we sat down in the fall and I said, I need for you to list for me everything that you have brought in since you started here. And so he sends the list to me, and I nearly fell off my chair. And I said, that's it, buddy. You're going to be a spotlight in January. So we are ringing in the new year. Forget Omicron. And I give to you Jonathan Gabriel.
Well, I appreciate that, certainly. We have done a lot, and there's still more we can do. So that's the wonderful thing about technology. It's always changing. It means we always have to upgrade things, but that's where I come in, I guess. Everybody can see the presentation, hear me okay? Cool. So yeah, spotlight on technology. I'm really just gonna touch base on a couple things that Lori said. I'll try to make it brief, although I still don't think we'll make it in time for Jeopardy. So sorry about that. No. But so first we'll talk a little bit about the devices that we have. We'll start with classrooms. So everybody's heard at least a little bit. We've talked about this before, about the new technology set up, the Promethean boards and everything. So I won't focus too much on that. We've had our new faculty laptops for about a year now, a little over that. The Promethean boards, we're going on our second school year with those. And we have some other technology, like there's a portable document camera that's available in every room. There's additional cameras mounted on the Promethean boards when and if it makes sense in certain areas. And really what we're going for is an identical technology setup across all rooms. That little cable you see up at the top it might look meaningless, but that is what everything in our school is. Every desk that you would walk into an office and sit down at, every Promethean board that you could walk up to in a classroom, every device across the board now charges, displays, and transmits data through this one cable. So everything is interoperable. Everything is just plug and play. No more carrying adapters around. We saw big benefits last year when our teachers were mobile between classrooms. That relieved a lot of the stress of moving between different kinds of technology, but that continues to be a benefit. And we've upgraded Wi-Fi, expanded port access across the building, that's supposed to say. Done a lot more on that side of things in the rooms. For the students, that might look familiar to the school committee because that is the same exact Chromebook that you guys have. We have an all new fleet of ruggedized HP educational model 360-degree Chromebooks. They work great in tablet mode for the younger grades, all the way up through 8th grade. The feedback has been really excellent with those. And this year it's actually new. We were on iPads last year for a lot of the younger grades. We moved away from that onto the Chromebooks, and a lot of the teachers have reported it's a little bit better of an experience. It gives them exposure to keyboards, lets them navigate with a mouse a little bit more precisely, but still gives them all the benefits of a touchscreen. As well, everything that the teachers see and work with on their own devices is now identical to what the kids see. So there's a little bit less translation that they have to do. It's a lot easier to go from lesson planning to executing the lesson, whether it's in school or remotely, because they already know what to expect. So that's been pretty well received as well. We also have spares. We upped that this year. Those are available throughout the building, so there should be ideally no downtime with anybody ever. Every homeroom has at least an extra device where if somebody comes in without a charge or their device happens to be broken, they can be issued a device immediately and log right in and pick up from where they left off the previous day. iPad carts are available for checkout. We're starting to minimize our use of those. We're seeing just a lot more benefit from the Chrome devices, but they are still, what we have left of them are still being utilized pretty well. So this is a fun one. Normally everybody logs in like a traditional user would, with a username and password. New for this year, this video I'll show you in a second. We couldn't do it in person tonight, unfortunately. We have all of the lower grades logging in with a QR code quick card. So pre-K through 3, they all have a little holder, which you'll see in a second, attached to the top of their Chromebook, and a credit card sized printed ID badge that they'll use to log into the device. So we'll pull that up here. So we attach it right to the Chromebook so it can't get lost. They open up the Chromebook, the camera is displayed to the student. They simply show that card to the Chromebook camera. And within a few seconds, that figures out who they are, logs them in without a password, without having to type anything. And it puts them at the Clever homepage, which we'll get into in a minute. But you'll see I recorded this right here on my desk a little while ago, actually. You'll see I just kind of tap through, and no matter which app they use, they're just logged in immediately, no additional usernames and passwords to type. Everything is handled through single sign-on authentication and pre-rostered, which we'll also talk about in a little bit. So it makes it super, super easy to use pretty much any of our services, especially, again, compared to the iPads for those younger kids. I did that one. So apps and services, this is a good segue into that. That screen that you just saw on the previous video there that they ended up at is right here. So this is an example of it's slightly different, but it's more or less what the kids would see, or staff for that matter. This is their Clever homepage that they're presented with when they log in. The majority of our educational apps tie right into this service now. So the kids simply click on an icon and they're logged into their iReady or their iXL account, Zern, Kidum, etc. Like I said, no more passwords to remember, write down, store somewhere, and constantly need resetting, that kind of thing. So that's been a huge help. We've seen a lot less help I'm locked out of my account type tickets this year than ever before. And we also provide some additional faculty and staff apps, employee resources. This can also act like a password manager and kind of is just the dashboard that everybody uses to hop between things, if that makes sense. It also provides us with a lot of really useful data back. So this is some visibility that we never really had before into these, because we kind of centralize through one dashboard. We can get a lot of analytics back out of it. So on the right, you can see specific app utilization over the past week, which is a little low right now, but we're just coming out of the break too. People are just getting back into the routine of things, both by access though and unique users. On the left kind of bottom is a graph of utilization by unique users over time. So we can actually drill into this and analyze the data and not just look at, is this tool being utilized, but compare that with the educational data that we get back out of these tools and see which of these apps are utilized, how often are they utilized, and how big of an impact are they making. and that can go and inform cost making decisions for next year and that sort of thing. So it's a lot of visibility we just never had before. If it doesn't support Clever, it supports single sign-on, either through Google. We are launching Microsoft. It's not really known yet, but that is working. And the ultimate goal is that anytime you see a sign in with Google, Microsoft, or Apple ID button, every student and faculty member will have an account that is federated, owned, and secured by us, but authorizes them to use those services safely, obviously, and as long as they comply with our data privacy policies and EULA. But that will probably be more or less the standard going forward. If it integrates into one of these services, then we can consider it, because it facilitates really, really easy logins and data management on that side of things. So moving away from the technical back end, we've done a little bit. We've kind of overhauled the website. That's not so much new information anymore, but we're constantly adding to that. And there's a really good reopening and COVID resource portal on there. And we've also launched an internal faculty staff portal. This is what, if you're staff or classroom teachers, this is what you'd see at the start of every day. Still a work in progress, but similar idea to what Clever does for the kids. It provides them easy access to important resources, help desk requests, links to things that they'll commonly use, that sort of stuff. The big one is Parent Square. Everybody has heard about Parent Square, received plenty of messages from it. A lot, actually. The stats that you see up on the screen right now are stats from this year. Since the start of this school year, we've sent over 3,500 direct messages between people. 813 message threads have been started. Over 550 classroom posts. So we use it for volunteers, file sharing, photo albums, all that kind of stuff. And it's very highly utilized. People generally refer to it as Facebook for schools, and we do see it treated that way. A lot of parents are engaging with teachers when they see a post, providing good feedback, taking polls in some cases. And the engagement on it really is excellent. I can't stress that enough. Virtually every single member of our community is contactable in some way, opting into at least one, if not multiple forms of communication. So that's kind of everybody, a quick snapshot of just everybody who is available. There's always an email address or a phone number that changes. There's always one in there, but we try to keep up to date with those. And every parent really receives updates through it, either in real time or by digest. Not many people choose that option. Some of you opted into text message alerts to get the notifications instantly. But amazingly, 66% of parents have downloaded and used the mobile app on a regular basis, which pretty much equates to at least one parent in every household. I'm sure the health attestation process has a lot to do with that. That's a really nice component of Parent Square we're able to use. But that is excellent for any school district anywhere. All right, we'll get a little more technical now, I guess. Still talking about the apps and the services we offer and everything. I don't expect everybody to read this, but these are kind of some of the automated processes that really allow us to deliver services faster and reduce the occurrence of data entry issues, that kind of thing. So on the left, you'll see just kind of a quick list. I'm not even sure if this is all of them at this point, that receive roster and account information nightly. So that means no more setting up classes manually in every single system. On the right, that's kind of an example of a workflow that would happen automatically as a result of something. So say a student was registered by the main office, bell schedules, demographics, all that kind of stuff are sent to Clever. Rosters are created in all those educational apps. Accounts are updated. Parent Square accounts and contact information is created. Their Google accounts, ILP profiles, the Rhode Island library system receives a profile so that they have a login for that. So we've automated all of these processes. Whereas in the past, all of this would have been log into those individually, probably both on my part, on the IT department side of things, we would have set them up. And often in these apps, teachers would have had to spend a significant amount of time configuring that at the start of every year, creating a class, enrolling their students. So we've kind of taken all of that away at this point. And yeah, it's just that saved a lot of time and a lot of issues, again, because of data entry problems, just issues with accounts when you're managing hundreds instead of one. So infrastructure. This is my piece, really. This is what I do for fun. So you're going to see some pretty interesting looking things here. But I've undergone a number of upgrades in the last year or two. Some of the key highlights, though, we have pretty much an all new switching infrastructure that was aging and approaching the point where we were getting worried about some failure. So we were able to replace some of that. 10 gigabit fiber between the closets, a fully redundant core with automated failover. So even if a significant portion of our hardware were to just die suddenly, odds are pretty good that nobody in the building would notice it. We have pretty good continuity of education and services there. Port-based security, a 3-hour minimum battery backup. That was a big one I wanted to do for this year. The battery backups on these network switches power the wireless access points. They power the access control, the key fobs and the doors. They power the telephones, the PA systems. So now even if we were in a power outage and the generator failed to start up or provide enough power for those services, we have at least 3 hours where we can operate completely off the grid, all of those services. We've also put a new access point in every classroom and at least 3 in common areas to support some pretty high capacity learning there. And 48 terabytes of storage and backups, of which we've actually used a significant amount of. We generate a lot of data nowadays. And I won't bore you too much with all this, but this is kind of just a list of all the services that we run out of the main server room mostly. Firewalls, routing, switching, backups, the building management and HVAC controllers, lighting controllers, all those kind of things are there and powered by those systems. This was my summer project, in case everybody's interested. We did a complete rewire of the building. And everybody should be able to visually appreciate what's happening here at least. But we did something pretty cool on the back end too. So port-based security, meaning as soon as you plug into the device, it's authenticated and certain information is captured. So we know if anybody were to try and access our network maliciously. It also dynamically assigns the network based on the device plugged in, meaning no matter where you are in the building, you can plug any device in to any port. It will set itself up, power itself in most cases, and just generally know what to do. No more, this phone only plugs in here in the building, these computers only plug into this ports. It's offered a lot more flexibility around setting up classrooms. And again, just reduce the amount of time we have to spend doing these things, freeing us up for other fun stuff. We've upgraded the telephone system this year. We had some serious issues with the old one and got a great deal on migrating to a newer version, essentially, of what we used to have. But it includes a new phone server, all IP based, which allows us the battery backup capabilities, paging capabilities right on the phone, a mobile app with conferencing capabilities and desk presence and all that built right into the app, so we can answer that call from anywhere. We also manage e-push to talk on FirstNet. We're deploying that around the school. So we'll be able to communicate in emergencies, both with school administration and with police and fire directly. And some mobile hotspots, fax, alarm, elevator, all that fun stuff. Facilities, we're taking a serious look at actually now with all the capital management stuff going on, but Chris really takes all the real credit here. I can't take credit for much. I make sure that they can access them. Other than that, he's mostly in there. But while he keeps the physical components of the whole system working, we help maintain the electronic ones. And that's just kind of a quick example of some of the dashboards that we have available that allow you access to see what's happening in the boiler rooms with the air ventilation systems in real time and make changes as necessary. Access control and security, we're currently attempting to upgrade. It's been an issue with the back orders, availability of parts, but that you've heard that everywhere, I'm sure. We have a printer that's able to print custom ID badges now, which are also fobs. You can see that kind of on the bottom left. That will allow remote access into 5 of the doors around the building, and we're working on speccing out replacement of the other doors to get those involved as well. We also have a release for the main office vestibule that we want to fob. But we currently have two-way video for visitors and access to cameras and the front office phones remotely. We're working on upgrading those systems a little bit too, to allow like triggering from any desk, say, for example. Only one desk can use that at a time. But we're in pretty good shape there. We are expecting 30 security cameras to replace our 8 existing ones, hopefully within the next month or two, but we will see, I suppose. And the last kind of section I was going to talk about, I guess, was just the department itself and what we do all day. This is where it gets a little more boring, so I'm sorry about that. But oh, my keyboard's off. There we go. But this is kind of, oh wait, there we go. Here's what we do all day. So this might have been some of the list items that Lori had mentioned earlier. But we maintain a pretty healthy inventory of devices, copiers, printers, cell phones, servers, routers, firewalls, all that stuff we talked about earlier. Keeps everybody pretty busy, but we've managed to upgrade enough more recently that we are in great shape overall. We have the ability to spin on a dime between in-person, physically, totally virtual, or any combination thereof. I would say with students, teachers, office staff, pretty much everybody. We're getting to the point where we can just pick up our desk phones and take them home now if we want to, and it still works, just like you're in the building. So we've made a lot of really cool and wise investments there, I think. We manage a few interesting services all the way from the accounts you'd expect with Google and all the educational apps to frontline absence management, professional growth, the library systems, device management for all of our different platforms, of course, assistive and curriculum mapping software, visitor security, you name it, if it runs on a computer pretty much at this point. And there's a fair amount of auditing and security that I won't get into here because that's when it gets really, really geeky. But we do regular audits against firewall and intrusion prevention systems, content filtering. Every email we send, every file we store, and every device hard drive that we owned is fully encrypted. And we have a key management server that backs that up and kind of enforces that minimum level of security for everybody that has sensitive data on their systems. We monitor authorized app activity to make sure nobody's inadvertently giving access to outside sources that could be malicious, Google Classroom and Meet activity, you name it. We can't necessarily see what's going on inside of it, but we can at least make sure it's secure. And that's really the goal there is to ensure that no data leaks out of the system that shouldn't be. Anything containing sensitive information about a child or anything like that cannot leave the system ever, as far as I'm concerned. Data management is a quick list here, I guess you could say, of kind of the reporting and data handling responsibilities that we have. A good amount of that is with the state, with RIDE. A lot of people hear about them, but this is the full list of daily on the left side, that left column. Those are the daily uploads that we submit to RIDE every night. Automated process, extract that from our system and student information system and push that out to the state. There are also some less regular reporting deadlines that we have to meet and maintain. I can't take credit for all of these, but we certainly, have a hand in some of them, and external file transfers to some of those other systems that we've talked about before. And all that boils down into the nice little graphs that you see in our report cards and attendance bulletins from RIDE. So we also manage workflows. A lot of you may have seen something to do with one of these systems at this point, but pretty much all our paperwork processes have moved online or are in the process of moving online. So student registrations, bio packets, the sports signups, as you can see a couple examples here. These are all digital documents that can be filled out securely by parents. The system is completely HIPAA and FERPA compliant, encrypts everything, and routes the appropriate components only to the appropriate people. So when you fill out that bio packet now at the start of the year, it doesn't sit on a desk in the office until it's filed. The room is locked, of course, but it doesn't do that anymore. The necessary office components end up in a secure folder in the office drive. The necessary medical forms end up in a secure folder with Jean, the nurse's office. So it really helps automate that workflow, while increase security and reduce the odds of anything getting misplaced or somebody accessing something they shouldn't. Speaking of workflows, our help desk, I always have to insert a plug for one of these. Our help desk has received a lot of traffic. Pretty much everything that happens that is a task, a workflow, either starts or ends up as a help ticket, as well as anybody who emails or fills out a form. So we include those metrics as part of the Friday memo. I think you guys have probably seen some of that, but this is more of a step back view from that. This is the entire school year so far. I'm sure you can guess where the first day of school is. As far as number of tickets submitted, but this year we've closed over 1,300 tickets, which is a pretty healthy number for being early into the year. That is split between the main office and IT. So anything that comes into the office is also processed as a ticket. So they definitely deserve a lot of the credit for this workload. But we're also seeing increased usage of the safety complex. They have a ticket queue, and maintenance now has a ticket queue this year. So everybody's directed to submit their request that way, and it can be routed to not only the appropriate person, but in some cases multiple people, and we can get to it a little bit faster for you. Almost done, I promise. Shared services is a fun one. This is what I get to use to break up my week sometimes, because it's just fun to mix it up, isn't it? We provide technical support for town services, who, like I said, are now on the ticketing system too. Maintain all of the online services and infrastructure for the police and fire departments, and help out every once in a while with other town initiatives and projects. We recently helped them pick out a new phone system that will mesh nicely with our and the safety complex phone system when we complete upgrades. So that'll actually bring in some cost savings opportunities for the whole town. We've helped them out with COVID testing clinics. They're doing a body camera evaluation right now, which is a pretty interesting one to set up. And we've replaced just about everything, every server, desktop, everything else at the safety complex in the past 2 years, give or take a little bit. But yeah, no, it's everything the school has and a couple different interesting things. And lastly, we'll talk about finances really quick. We are in pretty good shape this year. I'm still waiting to be billed for a couple of back-ordered things, but I'm sure we'll get into budget stuff in the next couple meetings and workshops. So rather than talk about expenses, this is more a list of what we've been working on as far as income from the IT department. So the numbers on the left represent this fiscal year and what we've managed to raise either in grants or other opportunities. Totals up to about $62,000 if you don't include the safety grant, which we are currently deliberating whether or not is worth it. That is a grant for a very specific implementation of a piece of software that is a very good first response utility. It will cover the implementation, but it does come with a substantial yearly cost. So we're evaluating whether or not that is a wise decision at this time. But otherwise, we've managed to raise. I left the second round out. We managed to raise 2 rounds of ECF funding that covered some device purchases. That was otherwise budgeted for. So there's some savings there. Somewhere around $13,000 for the REAP grant. E-rate has brought in $5,500 to cover our partial internet connection. RITEF, which we're pretty much always approved for, covers the cost of our transport circuits in full. And we've cut, give or take, about another $8,000 through cutting services that were redundant or renegotiating contracts for this fiscal year. In other news, we are working on the gymatorium still. I think we talked about this a little bit last time too, but by shifting that into the capital upgrade, we are expecting a pretty healthy reimbursement as a result of a lot of that being eligible. So that's great news, and we can't wait for that to get approved and start on that. And then that number is a rough estimate, a little on the conservative side, if anything. But we looked at it recently, and we started totaling up all of the different servers and old desktops and old network switches that we had in the building, and calculating what the new ones consume versus the old. And we've managed to save about 3.4 kilowatts of energy demand on a constant basis, which it does. I mean, it sounds like a lot. It's probably an average household or something close to that, but really it amounts to maybe 6% of the energy usage of the school. But every little bit counts, so we're trying to do our part there. And that is it. Definitely happy to answer questions. I know that was a lot to throw at you. in a very short amount of time.
Thank you, Jonathan. That was super informative. It's nice to see how much you enjoy your job. I think that's apparent in how you're reporting out, and I'm a believer that if you enjoy your job, you're going to do a better job at it. So that's refreshing. I'd like to say that I understood everything you were speaking about. I did not, but I am surrounded by a bunch of geeks at work and at home. So I value your opinion and all the information you gave us. Does anyone have any questions or comments for Jonathan? Mike?
Hello. Yeah, sure. Jonathan, I got to say one thing is that one of the things that I always tell people that about our school is that I believe our technology is top notch, and I got to give you credit for that. I believe you've brought us a long ways, and I appreciate that. My one question I have for you is the laptops that all these kids have, Chromebooks right now. Is each student, is that gonna follow them all through grade 8? Are they gonna take that one Chromebook with them from grade to grade going forward? Is that the plan?
Yeah, so we're in a position where we're going to start easing into that process next year. We don't have much work to do. It'll be the following year because we bought so many new devices so rapidly to support everything through COVID. But yes, the end goal is that 3 grade levels in the school every year will receive a replacement device, and that'll probably be some combination of K and pre-K, 3 and 5 or 6. Those devices will be issued to students in those grades at that grade level when they enter the building or when they start that grade level. They will then keep that device until they hit the next grade level. So a kindergartner would get a new device. They would hold on to that for a few years. Once they hit grade 3, they would receive a new device. We would take the old one back, either repurpose it or recycle it, resell it, whatever the best decision there at the time is. So we would be replenishing somewhere around 40, 45 Chromebooks at the most on a regular basis, and everybody else would keep their inventory as they progress through those 3 grade levels, 4 grade levels.
Okay. Thank you for your answer.
Yeah.
Travis?
Yeah, to echo what Mike has shared, Jonathan, I just can't thank you enough. Your attention to detail and the fact that you're now kind of integrating our entire community is completely above and beyond, and you're an invaluable asset. So thank you so much. Being in other rooms where we're talking about tech, and to have somebody to your caliber is just unbelievable. And seriously, always, if you need anything, come to the committee. Please go to Superintendent Diaz. You are really, really delivering here for us. Appreciate you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and what you said, Mike, as well, and Polly. I definitely think you're right. I love my job. I love this job specifically at Little Compton. It's a very unique community. We get a lot of unique options and abilities because of our size, because of our agility, because everybody's so willing to come together and kind of do some hard work when it's necessary. I definitely do appreciate that, and I think I definitely feel supported in that, and I just have to say that the biggest reason we were able to do any of this, both right when COVID hit and throughout up until now, is due to a consistent awareness of all these issues. I think there's been a lot of history of good support by the school committee, by the town for technology budgets, for making upgrades, for making wise decisions at times they make sense. At least as far as all this stuff goes. So it's been a long time coming. I appreciate it. We put a lot of effort into making sure it's as seamless as possible. But the way I look at it is every teacher here, every student, in a way, they are all my students. We're all a big family. So it's when we all do good. When one of us do good, we all do good, and we all pitch in to help everybody else, and it really feels that way on a daily basis. So Thank you and everybody here.
Terrific. Anyone else have anything they want to add? All right, then we can move on to final presentation of stage 2, Wilbur McMahon School Educational Facility Master Plan. Laura, you're on mute. I think you see your lips moving.
Yep.
Okay.
Could someone bring Phil Conti in?
Yep, just sent him an invite. Here he comes.
Thank you, Jonathan. And he's in. Give him some little bit of lag time.
Can you guys hear me?
Hey,
Yes.
Phil.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
I hope you're all doing well. I do not have any formal presentation tonight. I certainly am prepared to answer any questions you may have about the stage 2 application. We are on track to make that submission before February 15th. That submission requires a school committee approval to do so and a town council approval to do so. I am providing to the town council tomorrow an abbreviated version of the stage 2 package that was sent to you for their review. We anticipate approval from town council. They had some feedback previously when we met with them, and we acted upon that and believe we're on track with the town as well. So I am prepared to answer any questions you may have. This is in my opinion, a nice package. It complements everything that Jonathan just went through on technology. Sounds like you are on track there. And now we have the opportunity to do some fine tuning to the facilities and the building. And I'm glad we're able to support Jonathan in that cafetorium with some of the capital improvements for that space as well. There is a resolution I believe you'll have this evening as well on some administrative things that we need to have in place to make the submission. So I imagine you'll act upon that tonight, and then we should be good to go.
Thank you, Phil. Yep, we received your packet quite a few days ago. Has everyone had a chance to look it over? Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I have a question for Phil, please.
Okay, go ahead, Mike.
So Phil, just it was a little confusing, but so we had the capital improvement portion of the numbers, which that came in at 4.9, and then you have the deferred maintenance, and that was, I want to say, about 3 or so, or 2 point something. So that's totaling the 7.3. Am I correct in understanding that?
Yeah, so the deferred maintenance assessment was an activity that we needed to do as part of this process. That identifies a 10-year forecast of needs. From that assessment report, we picked the high priority items and included them in this $4.9 million package. So it is not uncommon for there to be a much greater need than what you're actually applying for. So what we are applying for is this $4.9 million package. The data we provided as a result of the assessment is just an activity that we needed to do.
Okay, so we're actually going for, the request is for 4.9, not 7.3.
You are correct.
Okay. And of that 4.9, that's the up to 40% that we had talked about that could potentially be reimbursable.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I was confused because I was like, I had 4.9 in the back of my mind, and then I see 7.3, and I'm like, this is not what we were talking about. So I was just confused on that.
No, you're absolutely correct. We get that question every time, and we explain to them that the assessment part is just an activity that we need to do. It is not the application amount.
Does anyone else have any questions, comments?
Phil, in terms of the reimbursement, my understanding is that there's some discussions now where they're going to add some additional incentives. And there's probably going to be some more money issued through the bonds, maybe closer to 300 million versus the 250 million. So this is kind of a unique opportunity for us to maximize a return on any capital investments that we make here. And you really have to look at it from the standpoint of, if we put $500,000 into it, we're going to be able to get $1 million worth of improvements. So we're in a position now where we have to kind of put together a plan to be able to fund some of these key projects over the next 5 years. And there are some things that are going to be happening townwide that I think that we can take advantage of. One thing, for instance, I know we're talking with about refunding the existing town school bond, which will have a certain amount of savings on debt service. What we'd like to do, or what I think my recommendation would be to the committee, is try to get some of those savings committed to a capital reserve fund that will help us then fund some of our capital needs. And in that particular case, we're not going to be looking for any additional taxpayer dollars, because that current debt service that we're paying on the bonds is already into the tax base right now. So I think it's going to be important that we continue to work with the town to develop some mechanism to get some funding. We do have some additional money in our accumulated surplus that I'm looking to move to a capital reserve. We do have some monies over at the Newport County Regional Special Education Program that have built up that we can then also possibly use, you know, to add to that capital reserve fund. So, but I think the key with getting this approved now is that whatever we do now is going to be locked into the reimbursement rate we have now, which is the minimum, the 35%. But these additional incentives are something that we can probably take advantage of, which could push us closer to a 50% reimbursement over a 35% reimbursement. So it could be fairly significant.
Thank you, Mr. McNamee. Did someone have some? Was someone going to add something?
Yeah, just real quick, Phil. At what point, and I don't know who can answer this, Phil or John, at what point do we find out what the actual reimbursement part would be?
Sure. So we will make the submission in May 15th. It is not uncommon for the Ride School Building Authority to send us a letter. Usually they'll send it to the district around maybe March. They'll say, hey, we want some additional information here, here, and here. You have 10 days to get it to us. We do that. And then in May, you will receive their recommendation to the Council on Elementary and Secondary Education. And it will identify the amount that they are going to give Little Compton and the amount of reimbursement. That amount that they allocate may be less than what we ask for, because their group will look at our projects and say, you're asking for 5 million, but we really only think it's worth 4 million. We have received haircuts at about 10% on these submissions. And we have received submissions for the amount that we've asked. Never have we received an amount for more, by the way. So in May, you will be locked into your reimbursement, your base reimbursement, okay, and the amount. Now, the incentives that John mentioned, as long as you proceed in the proper path and we document those projects that they qualify for the incentives, only after the district submits them are you then granted those incentive points. So Dr. De Silva came to Little Compton and said, based on these projects, And based on how you package them together, you may qualify for an additional 5, 10, 15% incentives. But you do not get them until the project is complete and the applications for those completed projects are submitted to RIDE. So I don't want to get into the weeds here. John is very familiar with how to package these projects to maximize reimbursement and the incentives. So if we are fortunate enough to work on these, we will assist in doing that.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you, Phil. Everyone else comfortable with the information? All right, thank you so much, Phil.
Thank you. All right, everyone have a good night, and we'll talk to you soon.
See you next Thursday, Phil.
Okay.
Virtually.
Yes, got it. Bye-bye.
Town council.
Got it.
All right, next is the superintendent's report, health and safety update related to RIDE and RIDO protocols and initiatives.
Haven't you all heard from me enough with my messaging the past few weeks? I'm sick of myself, so I can only imagine. So I'll start by saying, what a team, you know, what a school committee, what a business manager, what an HR coordinator, what an IT director it is, and what a fantastic Studio J, the architectural firm. They did a great job. I really want to thank the health support team. Polly is a member of the health support team, Lieutenant Justin Texera of the Little Compton Fire Department Emergency Medical Services, Chief Petron, Dr. Christina Nixon, who is an internationally renowned immunologist, and Jean Dunn. You gave up New Year's Day, the entire day, pretty much, and also January 8th, so that we could chart a course for our small school through this surge. We arrived back in-person learning on Monday, and I can honestly say our students never missed a beat. Our teachers rose to the occasion, and we have a whole school, whole class distance learning model that is second to none. And it was great that, as one parent said, we pumped the brakes last week. And so I'm happy to report we have a handful of positive cases right now and a handful of kids and adults quarantining. We're faring better than we would have last week. We had a lot of staff down. If they weren't down, then their family members were. But I can't thank our teachers enough. You absolutely rock. Asymptomatic screening was held on Monday, and RIDE and RIDO did encourage schools at opening day after the break to definitely screen as many kids as possible. And as luck would have it, our screening day is always on a Monday. And we're between 75 and 80% participation among our kids, and about 100% staff. And we did pull, 2 positive cases out of that. Those individuals, our thoughts and well wishes are with them, definitely. I do have some good news about vaccinations. We received information just recently. We went from 36%, well, 35.6, we'll round it up to 36%, and we went past 45%. We've had parents who've, shifted gears and are, it's a family choice, and we honor and respect that. So we are hovering around between 46 and 47% with our kids. The town is at 56%. So we've gone up 10 percentage points recently. And some of that is due to data coming to us through the parents themselves, self-reporting, vaccinating their kids across the border. And RIDO would not necessarily have that information. And some are new vaccinations. I don't know who, I just know that I get the data from the school nurse and from RIDA, just numbers, not kids' names, of course. I did send out some messaging around the updated quarantine and isolation guidance for schools in the state. We have implemented them. So far, so good. It's the 5-day rather than the 10-day. So anyone suffering from COVID can come back after 6 days, only if they are asymptomatic. Before it was day 8, now it's day 6, and only if they are, they have no symptoms whatsoever. Not sure that's always common. The symptoms seem to linger longer. So even though an individual with COVID can come back on day 6, most will not. They'll still have some vestiges of symptoms. And we sent you all a 1-pager regarding our isolation and quarantine updates. We've implemented test to play, as the state has in RIPCOA sports and also the Interscholastic League on the high school level. We have everything in place, including the most extraordinary school nurse, I think, in the state. It doesn't hurt that she's also a nurse manager in the emergency department, I believe, at Newport Hospital. So, gosh, she has a toolbox that's wide and deep, and she carries it around all day and does an incredible job. That's all I have. Our town data looks good. There was a 26% drop in COVID cases from the first week of reporting ending on January 1st to the week ending January 8th. So that's good. Maybe our shutdown and pumping those brakes helped reduce the positive cases in town. So I think most, if not all, towns and cities experiencing a jump or leveling. Very few experienced a reduction from what I'm hearing. So how long will the pumping the brakes benefit us? I don't know. We're still in a surge, but we're taking one day at a time. And I cannot thank the committee enough, the health support team, the Little Compton Fire Department. They have their ear to the ground. They seem to know, when the cases are spiking, when the cases are plateauing, when the cases are dropping. And I can't say enough about the people that I work with and collaborate with. It's humbling on a daily basis. And I'm dropping the mic.
Great, thank you for that report, Lori. Mr. McNamee, finance report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So we've completed 4 months of our operating year, September through December. My projection is looking at a small deficit of 29,000, but as I explained before, it's a very conservative number. What I have done is I've identified those known areas where we might be in excessive budget, but we do have some other areas in there. For example, we have a little bit of breakage on our salary that will help us offset that amount, as well as to cover the costs of the MOA. We do have some potential savings in our out-of-district tuition for special education, which is not incorporated into that $29,000 deficit. So I think we're probably right now would be moving towards a very small surplus as we move into the end of the year. But those areas that we are watching, for example, would be substitute expenses. Right now, the run rate that we do have of $60,000 through the 4 months would put us right on budget of 134,000, which obviously is substantially higher than we have been in past years, but would be lower than we had reported in 21. So we're continuing to look at that and monitoring that. We do have a little bit of an overage in overtime. We're spending a little bit more money in overtime to to cover some of the additional time that's needed when necessary to keep the building up and operational. And I'm seeing a little bit of an increase in some supply line items relative to some COVID-related supplies. So we'll continue to look at those as well too. But overall, I'm not looking at anything that's really going to cause a significant swing in the budget at this point in time.
Great, thank you. Anyone have any questions for Mr. McNamee?
I do, and unfortunately my microphone was muted on Lori. I had a question for her, but John, I guess the one question I have in your small deficit that you're showing at the end of the year, is that taking into consideration the new principal that we're bringing on board?
No. So that deficit is not, but I think we'll be able to cover that with some of the other areas. I'm going to have to take a look at that in terms of what the impact that's going to have on the 6-month numbers, because obviously at this point in time, we would be paying for 2 principals for the next 6 months.
Right. So that was one question I saw when I was reading over your report.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, Mike.
The other, again, I apologize, my microphone was muted, but if I could just go back to Lori for 1 second. She mentioned talked about the Test to Stay program that was being instituted. I'm sorry, Test to Play. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Before the winter break, you had spoke about the Test to Stay program. Where are we with that, please?
State has replaced Test to Stay with Screen and Stay. So our kiddos are, we just screen them and they can stay in school if they are asymptomatic and they're still close contacts. Doesn't matter whether they're vaccinated or not.
Okay. So
close contacts, not positive cases.
So that's in place now?
That's in place. So it saves us our Binax Now testing kits, which are at a premium at this point. And we need those for our weekly screening and Tuesday through Friday at point of need screening as well when we have kids or staff. It saves us in terms of human resources. We were going to have to administer the tests, during breakfast, have supervision. And so Screen and Stay is just as effective from what we're hearing. And we've implemented it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McNamee. Does anyone have any more questions for Mr. McNamee? About the budget, the finance report? No? Okay. Thank you, Mr. McNamee. On to subcommittee reports. Policy subcommittee report. This is the first time in a long time that we have nothing to report. I'm sure that will be changing. Portsmouth School Committee Liaison report.
Thank you. I attended the Portsmouth School Committee meeting on December 14th. So almost a month ago now. I was really excited about it because it was held at Portsmouth High School, which I haven't been back there in a few years. So it was exciting to be back and see some of my old teachers. And then it was also really exciting because the Portsmouth Vocal Ensemble sang the national anthem, and I was a member of that in high school. So that was cool to be in the audience this time. So big shout out to those girls. They did great. For the update, kind of along the same lines as the health and safety update from the superintendent, they've also changed their guidance as far as quarantine and isolation. A big update for if there are any high school parents on tonight as we speak. Distance learning will be taking place at Portsmouth High School only tomorrow the 13th and Friday the 14th due to staffing shortages because of COVID. Sports will continue as normal, but your student has to participate in virtual learning to participate in their sport Thursday, Friday, or this weekend. And then on the topic of sports, I just want to congratulate the Portsmouth High School Unified Volleyball team for winning their Division III state championship. So that was great to see. They all came to the last meeting and got certificates, and their pictures up on the website. You can go see it if you want. But so that was another really great update. And the next meeting, I believe, is next Wednesday, not next Tuesday. It's January 19th. So I will be there and ready to give another update in February.
Thank you, Hannah. Next, Town Rec Committee Liaison. That is Rita, and she was not able to attend. As far as I know, she didn't pass any reports on, so we'll have to table that report. And the Wellness Committee Liaison is also Rita. I don't believe there's been a wellness meeting since the last school committee meeting. I know she shared with us the Healthy Schools newsletter, so I hope you can all take a peek at that. There's always some great news and great resources in there. Public input is next. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments they'd like to ask? As always, you can always raise your hand throughout the meeting, and we will call on you if you raise your hand. I'm gonna try to poke over there. I'm sure Jonathan will let me know, but I don't see any hands.
Nothing right now.
Okay, great, thank you. Okay, on to action items. We need to consider, we're going to consider, discuss, and vote to approve the high performance green status schools resolution. Lori, do you mind giving us a little information on this?
I'll just take my nose closer. Yes, this is this is part of the requirements for stage 2, and it's basically, you know, you're declaring as a public body that you will subscribe to high performance green status schools policies, procedures, processes, etc. And using Energy Star compliant equipment, you know, not allowing buses to idle out front of the building, you know, just the usual, so that they know that this is an intentional process that we're embarking on, that you are progressive and environmentally conscious and aware, and also, you know, building in efficiencies and complying with Northeast CHPS, which sets the standard for school buildings pertaining to, you know, new buildings and also to renovations. Yeah, just that you're green conscious, and you all are anyway. So it's a formality, you know, it's one of the T's, and, you know, that has to be crossed. But it is a commitment, and you are resolving to do these things, and then we can move forward. It is your new resolution, 8007, high performance green status schools. We're moving towards it.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions on this resolution? If not, I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Thank you, Hannah.
Second.
Travis, thank you. Roll call vote, please, Mariah.
Holly Allen,
Aye.
Travisati,
Aye.
Hannah Ayotte,
Aye.
Rita Kennahan is absent. Mike Rocha.
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you. Next is to approve the Stage 2 Wilbur McMahon School Education Facility Master Plan. This is Stage 2 of the Capital Improvement Plan that Phil just talked about. Do I have a motion to approve this plan? Hannah?
Second.
Travis? And can I have a roll call vote, please, Mariah?
Holly Allen,
Aye.
Travisati,
Aye.
Hannah Ayotte,
Aye.
Rita Kennahan is absent. Mike Rocha.
Aye.
Motion is approved. Next up, we we're going to vote to approve the memorandum of agreement between the Little Compton School Committee and the Little Compton Teachers Union. Any discussion on this? This is what we met in executive session. We want to compensate the teachers for coverage. So we're transparent here. Could I have a motion to approve the MOU, please?
So moved.
Thanks,
Second.
Hannah. Travis, second. Roll call vote, please, Mariah.
Holly Allen,
Aye.
Travisati,
Aye.
Hannah Ayotte,
Aye.
Rita Kennahan is absent. Mike Rocha.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Do we have any requests for information from administration or the legal counsel?
Oh, I gotta ask on this.
Yep.
I spoke to Laura a while back as far as contracts from like third-party vendors, as far as them being available on our website. And I use the school buses because that was the example that I used at that time. Is that as far as having that posted so that on our website? It could be that trash, anything that has to do with third-party vendors that are outside of our in-house staff. I guess that's
So you want to know if we can post our vendors' contracts on the website?
That's correct. Yeah. So it's available to the public.
Okay. I don't know the legality of this. Lori's saying yes. Sean's pushing his mute button.
In terms of posting third-party contracts on your website, the contract's a public document. So I would see no problem if you want to post those on your website. I don't foresee why, in any particular instance, why there would be an issue.
Okay.
Having those public, so I think you can move ahead with that. They would be.
So this is something, Lori, that we can update.
Yeah, if the contract's available, we have a contract right now that is not firmed up, and our attorney, Clough's colleague, Attorney Anderson, is handling that. But the minute that is freed up and John McNamee and John Anderson land that plane with the vendor, we'll put that up as well.
Right, and to be clear, contracts that are still under negotiation wouldn't be subject to APRA anyhow, so we wouldn't post those on your website.
Terrific. Thank you. Anyone else have anything they'd like to request? Any questions from the audience? No?
Nothing out there right now.
Okay, terrific. Then I will take a motion to adjourn, please.
So moved.
Hannah, Travis, roll call vote, please, Mariah.
Holly Allen,
Aye.
Travisati,
Aye.
Hannah Ayotte,
Aye.
Rita Kennahan is absent. Mike Rocha.
Aye.
Great. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.